All right, so again, this node over here is a normal node, but it'll do for what we need it to. So let's play with this. There we go. Now this thing is unlocked. Again, there are better Caterium nodes on the map. I happen to know there is one down around this corner. Actually, it might be. Look at this map. Yeah, I think it's actually over here, and that is where I'm going to actually build my Caterium node, where I'm going to really produce this stuff. But for right now, this will actually work. So let's go ahead and grab these guys. I'll leave that one there for now, but again, I'm just going to kind of build a temp base just to get me started. Okay, and here we go. So let's see what a normal node puts out. So a normal node is going to be putting out 120 Caterium. So let's go ahead and get a smelter up. And a smelter needs 45. So let me show you a little trick here. So if you hit in, it calls this thing up, which is basically just a search bar. But if you type in a mathematical formula, it'll show up. So we know we need 2.6 smelters. But what if we had 45 times 3 is 135? So now we know if this thing is producing 135 per minute, then we can efficiently make 3 of these guys over here. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so there we go. So we've got 3 smelters and our 1 producer here. This is now going to produce 3 at 100% because we overclock that. So now if we come in here, you'll notice that for 45 Caterium ore per minute, we get 15 ingots. Now, if you remember with iron and copper, it was 30 to 30. It was 1 to 1. Now it's 3 to 1. Now this fixes itself on the other side. So let's look at that. So we're going to throw down a constructor here. And now if we come down to quick wire, and our freighter just came back, which is good. So let's say that we want quick wire, which the requirement is the ingots, which we're making right now. So this takes 12, but it produces 60. So each Caterium ingot makes a lot more wire than the smelters do for iron and copper. It takes more to make an ingot, but the ingot can make more of the product. Like if you remember with wire, it's 1 to 2. With this one, it's basically almost 5 to 1. It is 5 to 1. So we know each smelter produces 15. So we have, and this takes 12. So basically we could build 3 constructors plus 1 that's underclocked. We haven't really done underclocking, so let's go ahead and do that. So we know this one will need 9 instead of 12, so that is 75%, I believe, if I'm doing the math in my head correctly. Okay, there we go. So let's go ahead and set all of these up for cat wire. That one's already set. Let's make sure all of these are set for cat. Yes, they are. And there. Good. Okay, now let's just set up our storage and we are good with this base. So I don't have to, you can sort of see there's a hog right there. So what I am going to do, again, this is just kind of a starter base. I'm not trying to do anything spectacular here. So I am just trying to get something down that will store materials. It doesn't need to be special. And ideally, the smaller it is, the better, because my power is right on the edge right now. All right, let's run the power and see how this works. So for right now, I am not going to build... Ooh, I am going to run out of cable. Look at that. Okay, so good to know. Let's see if I can get this all the way to the back. And Then we'll come back here and check it out. Oh, already coming down. Look at that. Yeah, cat wire produces pretty quick, which is one of the reasons a lot of people will throw it into the awesome sink, just because it produces so much for so little. I mean, we've got, what, 7 buildings here? I guess 8 if you include the miner. And this is how many resources it's doing. And it seems like they've made it more useful in creating the fuel generators. I don't remember. I think that used to be cable and not cat wire. Could be wrong on that, but I don't think I am. And if I am, I'm not going to admit it. There we go. All right. So now we have enough Caterium coming in that if we let this build up over a little bit of time, we'll have more than enough Caterium to start building power plants. In the meantime, what I want to do is go ahead and unlock that turbo fuel, because once we have that, we can build another factory that builds compacted coal just for turbo fuel. So let's go ahead and do that, because that'll be the next little thing we make, and then we'll be on our way. All right, y'all, it is time. Pew!
Milestone reached. Fixit has granted you the power of flight, provided you have a jetpack and the appropriate fuels. The jetpack refuels automatically while you are standing on a surface, and different fuel types will affect the jetpack's functionality. With this increased versatility, you will no doubt achieve efficiency levels previously unheard of.
Yeah, what it really does is prevent me from dying if I drop off something. One of the problems with the jetpack is you can get cocky and forget that it runs on fuel. If you look in the lower left there, you can see that it pops that thing up. You can feather it and it won't use fuel to a point. Just don't get cocky about it. But yeah, that is a huge unlock for traversal in the game. And while we're at it, do we have enough to unlock this? No, we need compacted coal. So I'm going to run back to the east and pick up some compacted coal since we're making it over there. And we'll go ahead and unlock turbo fuel. And here, I'll show you one of the advantages of the jump pack right off the bat. So it used to be I'd have to run all the way over to the far side of the base, run down and around. Whee! So right over yonder is where our compacted coal factory is. Right up here is a cargo container where we can get a hard drive. So we're going to pop up here real quick. And now that we have a jump pack, we can do it. So what do we need to open it? 20 frames. We got that. There we go. Let's go get that compacted coal. Now, one thing I want to point out is that when we unlock the next level, we'll actually be able to double the production of sulfur. We'll be able to double the production of coal, and then we'll be able to double the number of coal generators out there. So even though we'll be moving beyond coal generators for power, we'll still be able to double the power on the back end. The question is, will it be worth our time to do it? And that's honestly kind of a valid question. Need to be a little careful about doing that, because disrupting the coal like that could make it that our coal power plant shuts down, but it looks like it didn't. I took just enough to kind of slow it down a little bit, but not enough to really matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a MAM here. And I'm missing cable. Do I have enough to make cable? Let's see. I do have wire. we're just going to make one of these. Hopefully this doesn't take cable. No, it does not. So now should be able to unlock turbo fuel.
Turbo fuel unlocked. This upgrade to regular fuel is optimal for fuel-powered generators, jetpacks, and fulfilling long-distance trucker fantasies.
Sweet. What we got down here? I haven't seen this before. Rocket fuel. Wow. Okay. Ionized fuel. Woo! Okay. These are new. I'm assuming that'll allow us to jump further. I have not unlocked the rifle yet. I might actually do that pretty soon because that enables us to fight the hatchers way easier. A lot of people swear by the rifle. They'll just load up with rifle ammo and just kill everything on the board. Again, my goal is to not kill everything on the board, but my next goal, there's a sulfur node up here, I think, right up in that area. That is pure. We'll need to run coal up there, which there are a bunch of coal nodes that are a little bit impure. So we're going to run coal up there. We're going to run sulfur up there. And then we'll be able to do our, turbo fuel. Actually, let's go ahead and look and see what turbo fuel costs. I am missing encased industrial beams. Hang on a second. So this is a good thing. Even if you slap down a building and it's not plugged in, you can still kind of see what it does. In fact, that's actually kind of a good trick. So if we take turbo fuel, we'll see that it takes 15 compacted coal per minute, and it produces 18.75 turbo fuel per minute. And that will be twice as efficient as regular fuel, which is 40. So you do notice that it's producing less, but it gives you more in the long term. So it produces half as much, but it's twice as efficient. End result is you need fewer refineries to power the same amount of stuff. Or if you produce the same number of refineries, you're going to have double the number of power plants. Guess which direction we're going to go. So looking on our map I just pinged, we've got 2 impures over here, 2 normals there. Remember, 2 normals combined equal 1 pure node. So with those 2 right there tapped, it would match up with the 1 pure node up there. If I tap those 2 and overclock them, then I could produce basically as much as 3. But unfortunately I can't, there's nothing that'll allow you to make something 300% efficient. So unfortunately that 1 sulfur node and this, we're going to have to base our production of fuel, or production of turbo fuel, on how much sulfur and how much coal we can produce. Something else that you can do on the way back to the base, I've had to run around these each time. We've got the Noblest, so let's do something. No more fart rocks. Well, there's 2 more, but now we got an open gap through here. Much better. So you might be asking yourself, Don Steeler, old chum, what are you doing out here on this big mushroom? And how did you learn how to imitate my voice exactly? Well, there's no time for that. I am out here collecting hard drives because I need a special recipe in order to pull off this whole oil factory. And there's a giant cow right there that really doesn't want me to leave. And there's a hard drive right over there, and that's a problem. So I'm just gonna have to run for it. But anyway, we're gonna have to go collect a whole bunch of hard drives, and since it's completely random what you get from a hard drive, well, we have to collect as many as possible to increase our odds of getting the one that we want. Actually, the two that we want. We've got one. We need two more. So, wish me luck. One thing I do want to show you. This is the Spire Coast, which is the sort of ocean biome. Yeah, I strongly considered making my main base over here, and I still might. We'll see. Anyway, there's our next hard drive. Another good thing about the jetpack is that you can definitely get a good look at what's around. So you can sort of see my crystal base there. More importantly, another hard drive right there. Another one of those things. I assume they're hatchers, only worse. We will be unlocking the gun before we mess with that. That looks like bauxite, maybe. Huh. I have to swing back up here. Man, this area is, for lack of a better term, swarming with these hatchers. So, before I tackle this section of the Spire Coast, which, in case you're wondering, is right here, so many hatchers. I'm going to have to unlock the gun first. But I do have 8 hard drives now, and I'm planning on picking up probably 3 more, at least, in that range. So we're going to actually do 2 things here. So first off, I can explain what I was talking about with fluids. So you can sort of see oil is coming in. We've got plenty of oil coming in, but you can see none of these guys are firing. So what's going on? Let's take a look. So you can see no more plastic is coming out, so it's not producing plastic. So the issue isn't these things aren't producing. It's not that the resource is backed up, even though plastic is backed up. Rubber also isn't backed up. So what is happening is that this pipeline is full. So if I were to clear this pipeline network, this would start working again. But this is why it is more important with these fluids that they're efficiently used up, because basically what's happening is this packager here that's making fuel is full up. So the production on this particular machine stopped. This is probably full of fuel, which I am going to grab a little bit more now. So this thing can't produce anymore because its fluid is full. So that stops up the residue oil from going over and filling this up. You can see that just started again, and it should start kicking out over here. So both of those turned on just by me picking up probably 25 fuel, and it unclogged this whole thing. But that right there is why you have to efficiently use all of your fluids in a system like this, or it'll back up, it'll stop producing. And if that happens when it's producing power, your entire power factory shuts down. That's the disadvantage of oil plants. Now let's go ahead and unlock these hard drives. So have I talked about hard drives yet? I don't think I have. So you can sort of see that the sort of launch craft, the little shuttle that we have that takes off the back of our hub, you can sort of see that there's a wreck there. There's wrecks everywhere. And each one of those wrecks has a hard drive in kind of the cargo container piece. And if you have the right pieces, sometimes it doesn't require anything, but if you have the right pieces, like say 25 screws will unlock one and 10 reinforced iron plates will open another. You never know what it's going to be. If you unlock that and you can pull it open, then you can get the hard drive inside. And once you have the hard drive, you can come over to the MAM, hit E, and it's actually finished scanning an earlier hard drive that I put in here before I went hunting. So we're going to say confirm. Right up here at the top, you click that and it'll take the hard drives in your inventory and start scanning them. It takes 10 minutes per though, so with 10 I'm going to be here for a little while. So I have no rescans available here, so let's look at this. Unfortunately, neither one of these recipes are any good, so we are just going to, let's see, this one's not bad. I'm never going to use it, but every time you select one of these recipes, it takes it out of the rotation. I'll show you what I mean by that. So here's our hard drive, 15 and 15. This is with Coke. That is actually kind of a good recipe. I am going to take that one because Coke is something that you produce a lot, and there's a lot more oil production nodes on there than there is coal, and we're using coal for power and steel, which is a good point. Do we want to use that? Let's re-roll because I want to show you this. Basically, there is a limited number of alternate recipes. Some are obviously better than others. This one's not terrible. This is if you're overproducing steel and underproducing iron for some reason, but you can sort of see both of these. They're okay. They're not great, but you can rescan, and then you get diluted packaged fuel, which isn't a bad one, and an alternate steel frame, which makes it with that. So we're going to do, what the hell? Let's do diluted packaged fuel because it's kind of close to what we're getting. So we're going to select that. And now those two recipes that I picked are out of the library. So no matter what I select with these next 9 hard drives with 2 rerolls, I'm not going to get any of the recipes that I've already got. So we'll go ahead and do this. We got 10 minutes. We'll check back after we've done all of them or until I find the recipe that I want.
Manual depot uploader unlocked. Storage dimension and pocket dimension now connected both ways and stable. Parts can now be uploaded to the storage dimension directly from the inventory. Note: the storage dimension now understands the boundaries of the pocket dimension and recognizes the distinction between matter belonging to the Pioneer's inventory and matter belonging to the Pioneer.
The window within the shallows within the deep, curling around itself separately, echoes strangely.
I'm sure strange is the correct term for what this must feel like to you.
Okay, so Ada and the alien intelligence that we're getting from utilizing Sam and the Mercer spheres, she is talking to it more, which I don't know if I like that. Stack increase. So a stack is, for example, 200 steel beams. If I were to increase the stack size, it would now be able to hold 2 stacks. So 400 beams just means that you don't have to wait on it as much. Upload speed is 50%. That's actually kind of nice because obviously it increases the speed at which the inventory of the dimensional depot fills back up. I don't really need that just yet, either one of those, but it could be very useful in the future. Power augmenter will obviously be good, and amplifier will obviously be good. I did pick up a couple summer sloops on my journeys, so could potentially unlock this, although I would assume this augmenter would need advanced parts that I would at least need advanced steel production, which I don't have yet. So back to hunting for alternative recipes so that I can get this power supply or these oil power plants up and running. And with my last hard drive, I actually get heavy oil residue, which is what I was aiming for. So there we go, 1 down. So here is compacted coal for the turbo fuel. And we are kind of at the top of the world. There are very few points on the map that are higher than we are right now. There's that thing, there's that thing, there's that thing, and there's what we're on. But this is where the pure sulfur node happens to be, so this is where we are. Oh, and there's actually, I must have killed one of these big bad boys. Anyway, I forgot rods, but this is the first part. So when you are setting up things like this, basically the fuel generators, the trick is that where on most of the builds, you kind of have to work backwards. So you say, okay, I want this base to produce 20 plates per minute. So what do I need to do that? So I need this many ingots, which means I need this much iron ore coming in, and I need these many constructors, these many smelters, this many miners, and then you kind of work backwards from what the end result is. With turbo fuel, unfortunately, you have to start at the bottom. So you start with how much compacted coal can I create, and then how much will that fit into the chain moving forward. And so I forgot to pack enough rods, which is what your mom's, wait, no, I need more rods. So I need to go back, get rods, and then I can build this thing, which again is just another blueprint. So come up here, make this. It's just an elevated thing for running belts. Can run 2 of them. I just wanted something simple but kind of pretty. Feed it into this. Eventually I'll come back and make this thing pretty, but for right now, a lot of the structures, just trying to get it down so that we can advance the game. And right now we need power. So check back in a couple seconds when we have this whole thing run all the way over there, which is where we are going to be dropping in our oil base. Actually, it might be over there. That is going to be where we're going to build out our oil generators. With that in mind, see you in a couple seconds. So I realized I could kill 2 birds with 1 stone by building this loud bastard right next to my oil factory over here. Just to kind of burn things. Plus it kind of lets me see how much it burns. So it's 20 meters or 20 milliliters cube per minute. Or I guess 20 meters? I could swear it's milliliters. It's got to be milliliters. See, I know how to do stuff. It doesn't tell you normally. It'll just kind of say that it exists and it needs fuel until you put fuel in it. So I kind of needed that, but that did bump us back up and we're close. Basically putting 1 fuel generator out there got me about halfway back up to the good, just to give you an idea of how much power even 1 generator can make. Okay, so this is probably a little bit too high up, but once this is all running, I'll kind of do a run through and show you what happens. Basically, I have enough compacted coal coming in here that I can repeat this line 6 times. Right now there's only 4, so there's going to be 2 more of this line coming out. And then there'll be a whole stack of them making plastic and rubber out of the residuals off of this. But basically what happens is you have a pipe that comes in here. This thing is just a container that holds plastic containers. The plastic container comes over here, and I need to have water extractors. Haven't quite decided where I'm going to run them. I mean, I guess the one that would make the most sense is here. Then just have a bunch of water extractors out here pushing the water down. Again, water, it doesn't matter if it jams up. It doesn't matter if this base oil jams up. The one that'll matter is this residual oil or the sort of petroleum byproduct that's coming out that I'm using to produce things, that if that one jams up, then the whole thing will crash. But anyway, what happens is it comes up here. The water comes in here, packages it up, makes packaged water. It goes over to this refinery, which takes the packaged water and the heavy residual fuel and makes quite a bit of fuel. It makes, as opposed to 30 fuel, it doubles it and makes 60. But it makes it as packaged fuel. So it takes the packaged water, turns it into packaged fuel, basically just watering down the oil or watering down the fuel, sends it over to another packager. That one unpacks the sort of plastic container and sends it back into the loop. And then it takes the fuel that's in there and pushes it out to these three, or these three refineries, which are making turbo fuel. And you can sort of see this line right here is the compacted coal. And again, I can make this loop, this whole thing, 6 times. So there will be 18 turbo fuel producers over there, which can make quite a bit of fuel generation. So yeah, it takes a bit to set up and kind of get the numbers right, but once you do, it is crazy how much power that this can produce. And it'll kind of push us into maybe not the late game, but quite a far distance. Like we will be able to make our heavy steel base pretty easily, and that will kind of push us probably straight up to nuclear power. And at that point, we can kind of look at expanding some of our bases, like the coal generation, although that's kind of a law of diminishing returns. At a certain point, building another coal processor doesn't matter. It's usually better just to throw up a few fuel generators places. We'll need to make a computer's base. This will probably be enough to easily get us the heavy steel manufacturing and the computers, and that will get us up to the next level of the space elevator, which is right yonder. And that is the plan. So when next you see this, when next you see this, this will be all set up with all of the fuel power nodes, or the fuel generators. So come back in a sec. So now that I've started laying this thing out, I've realized that there is a much more efficient way to do it. And this is another thing that's pretty common with this game, is that you will start putting something down. Basically, I was just trying to figure out exactly how the resources would all fit together. So this plugs into that, plugs into that. I need this many of this thing coming in here and this thing coming in here. But now that I've laid it out, actually, let's go on top of this, a little bit better view. Okay, so now we're up on top of this refinery. But now that I've laid this whole thing out, I see that there's probably a more efficient way to do this, rather than taking up all of this room horizontally, because again, a lot like our mines, when you upgrade the mines, you can upgrade the belts and you can double the productivity of that factory. Oil is the same way. And right now this is the infrastructure that a single pure oil node can do. And I haven't even laid down the oil generators yet. So all of this is going to be powered by a single 300 little extractor. You can see it over there. So this whole base, or this whole factory, will expand again. So I'm thinking what I might do is line the initial refineries up this way and have the production line go this way, have the oil generators out there, and then sort of work these in on different levels since they're basically coming in. I will have to pump water up to these things, but this right here, the only thing it's putting out is containers. And then this is turning the containers into that diluted fuel. So this can actually be higher in pumping this. Let's see. Actually, this can stay on the ground floor because, again, it's going to be sending containers up as opposed to water. So you don't need to worry about the head lift. You would need to worry about head lift with the heavy oil residue. Let me think about this. I'm going to do a solid think try a couple different builds. Catch me in a minute. And we are back. So you can see I cleared everything out over there. I am going to build that direction, but just in a slightly different way. So what we've got now is we're going to go this way. You can kind of see I went vertical with the build. I did plug everything in just so you can kind of see how everything works. So to start with, we've got our compacted coal coming in there, and we've got our crude oil coming in here. This first refinery is set to do heavy oil residue. Heavy oil residue. And its byproduct is polymer. And I'll get back to polymer in a sec because I am going to do something like that. This right here is just a cargo, or is just a container carrying these plastic containers. I just handmade those. And basically what they're doing is they're just going on a loop, and I'll show you that loop in a second. Most people actually make another refinery that makes these with the polymer. So they actually spend a whole other piece of machinery just to make these little containers for this thing. I just hand make about probably 1,000. It takes about 2 minutes, and just dump them in a container and then send them on a loop. So let's go ahead and show what that loop looks like. So the first step is the crude is turned into this heavy oil residue, and this polymer is created as a byproduct. And for the purposes of this loop, we don't need to worry about the polymer anymore. It doesn't come back into play. In this build, it will come into play quite strongly when I move on after the power. But anyway, so you got this heavy crude going over. Now you introduce water. So you've got this water generator. Still not happy with that color, but it's one of the basic colors. I'll probably come back and change it later because former artists go fig. But the water comes up here along with the containers, which you can sort of see the containers are coming in. They load in here, and this makes packaged water, and you can sort of see the packaged water is going up there. Now that polymer right now, I just have it dumping into an awesome sink. That is not what it will continue to do when this build is complete, but for right now, that is the end of the polymer's life as I send it in here. Now that is important to note though, because if the polymer backs up to here, and this thing doesn't have any more room to build that polymer, the heavy oil residue will stop producing because it can't send out any more byproduct of the polymer, which is bad news because that means if this stops, all of the power stops. So let's go upstairs and I'll show you what's going on once the packaged fuel gets up there. And as you can see, the heavy oil residue is going upstairs along with this bottled water. So let's go take a look. So now we're upstairs. I just kind of did this because it looks cool to me. It just kind of looks like it's submerged. I'm playing around a lot more with the glass in this particular factory than I have with others. Plus you can look down on what's happening below. But anyway, you've got your packages, your water, you can see it right there. All of the packaged water is coming up into this refinery, and I didn't change that color. That won't do. So this heavy oil residue in the packaged water is coming up into this refinery, which is using an alternate recipe. Oh, and I forgot to mention that heavy oil residue with the polymer, that is an alternate recipe. So in order to do this setup, you have to find 3 different hard drives. You got to find 3 different hard drives. One you unlock in the MAM. Just it's a standard one on the compacted coal sulfur line where you do turbo fuel. That one is just a simple unlock. The other ones are completely random with the hard drives. So you just got to keep scanning hard drives until you find the heavy oil residue and the one that I'm about to show you, which is diluted packaged fuel. And that just produces a huge amount of fuel by cutting it with water. So for 60 water, this would normally produce, I think, 30 to 30. So this doubles the amount of fuel available to you just by adding water into the mix. And so what this does is it comes over here and makes packaged fuel. And then this guy unpackages the fuel and turns it into a liquid and an empty canister. And the empty canister goes back down into the storage. So that thing is just going to be a big loop. And you can see I did a merger here because there's going to be this whole setup is going to be repeated 5 more times. There's going to be 6 total. Remember, our limiting factor is the amount of compacted coal we have. So if we increase our compacted coal with new miners, Mark III miners, and double the output of the coal, we'll be able to double the output of this. So we'll have 12 of this set up as opposed to only 6. So anyway, now we've got 60 fuel coming out here. And the 60 fuel just happens to be the right amount for 3 refineries to make turbo fuel. And if you look right here, there's that compacted coal coming in. And again, it's got a splitter because it's going to keep feeding down this line. And then this turbo fuel comes down here and feeds the generators. Now, this is the part that I want to show you. So this produces 18.75 turbo fuel per minute, and there's 3 of them. This thing burns 7.5 per minute. So if you do the math on that, each setup like this, those 3 can handle, I believe, 6.5 or 7.5. I think it's 7.5. Double check my math real quick. Yeah, 7.5. So every time there's 3 of these, I can have 7.5 generators. So to fully maximize this turbo fuel, which I'm going to have to do or it'll back up, I'm going to need to make 4 more of these and probably 5 and have 1 running at 50% just to burn the fuel here. And now keep in mind, this thing produces 250 megawatts per generator. Multiply this by 6 and you're going to have at least 42 generators when I'm done with this on 1 oil node and that compacted coal. And that is why you research turbo fuel. And I might have the residual, remember when it has that 0.5, might have that dump into a refinery and make tanks of turbo fuel, because this guy, when it's running on regular fuel, that's what it does. With turbo fuel, your acceleration is much higher. I think it's less efficient though. So now I'm going to repeat this 6 times and make 42 of these generators, and then our power is really going to pop. Even with these 3, remember how much we were in the red with our power? Now we're in the black again, just with 3 oil generators. So yeah, this is the way to go. And when I was saying this will get you into the mid-late game, this is what I was talking about. So come back in a couple seconds. I'll make 6 of these going all the way across, and we'll see what our power's at. So right now, our power capacity is 3810. I believe production, I'm not sure what the 3810 is. It's over by 100. I don't have any. There must be something that's not hooked up to the whole network. I'll have to go back and check that. But yeah, just remember those numbers, 3750 and 3810, and we'll check that once I have this set up duplicated 5 more times. So Come back in a few seconds. And here we go. Right now I just have all of the resin just flowing in there. Eventually they'll go out to refiners of its own and they'll be making plastic and rubber. They won't just be dumped, but right now I need to dump them just to get the power off the ground. So you can kind of see everything's kind of working right now. The factory itself isn't finished. Again, I'm going to kind of go back and pretty everything up once I've beat the game or at points where I kind of need to just take a break. What we're looking for right now is anything like this that isn't moving. So we need to go upstairs and find out why. 1, 2, 3. Fifth one in. You can see all of these guys are going real quick. Yeah, you can see we're up to 8,000 now. It should be much higher, but that's once all the production is going full blast, and it's not quite there yet. You can see that there are several here that aren't getting any power yet, but they will. Let's go around this way. Another thing I need to work on is the traversal. So let's see, I said fifth one in. So this one up here that's yellow. So why are you yellow? Did I forget to set the recipe? Huh, everything looks good there. Everything looks good there. That's what it is. Now that should kick back up. Green, green, we're good. Yellow, why are you yellow? Okay, so you're not getting packages fast enough. You're not getting packaged water fast enough, which is probably because that one was stuffing them up and wasn't letting them get through. Okay, that's kind of what we want to see. So all of this will go back. I may have to take some of these out of circulation to make sure this is all flowing smoothly, because what this is based on, in fact, I could just grab the empty canisters. We'll just do that. That should open it up. All right, so now that that is running, shouldn't be any yellows here. Why are you yellow? Green, okay. Probably just because they're feeding the resin, catching up with this. So let's see, that one is not getting enough. This one has too many. Let's take some canisters out of the loop. How are we doing over here? 60? No, that one's pretty efficient. That one's cleared out. Just keep taking them out of circulation until this one starts going faster. Because we want this whole thing to move faster. In fact, what we could do, since we've unlocked this, we just speed this whole thing up so we make sure these get the hell out of there in time. So this is the next belt up. So we're going to lock this up so that we make sure these are going. Oh. Make that a Mark IV. Then we're going to go down and speed that up. In fact, since it's seeming like these are the thing that is slowing us down, we could just increase the speed for the entire pipe. For the entire distribution. Again, we're not so concerned with what's feeding in there, because what's slowing things down is the fact that it's not getting to the far side of the factory. Oh, there we go. There we go. Now that should increase our efficiency. So yeah, now we got green everywhere. Gang, that is how you make a big ass power factory. And this one could get a lot bigger. Like I said, right now I have tapped a single pure oil node is all of this. And I'm not even sure if that's 42 or not. Let me double check this. So 3 deep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's like 33. I could probably go a few more, but you can kind of see there's a few that aren't lighting up yet. Again, that's just because the whole distribution is catching up with it. I could kind of help it along by putting a pump here that would just force things that way. Another thing you can do is you can put a valve, and valves mean that it can't come backwards. Just kind of a little trick you can do with the fluids. So I'm just going to slap on a couple valves here so it doesn't start backflowing. Because what's happening is it's all flowing in here and then rolling right into these first ones. And there's not enough going down there. So I'm probably overkilling it on the valves here, but you know, I'm okay with that. So the first guys in the line are getting all of it. As these pick up, like you can see that these two aren't even getting anything yet. Once they're producing, we should have enough in the system to start lighting up all of those guys. Really, it's just a matter of being patient and letting it run. You can sort of see that it's starting to flow in, but it's losing a couple along the way. But there we go. Big ass power station. Now we can go and get into steel, which is fun. There are a bunch of things we can unlock in steel. Ooh, thumbnail. All right, all. Catch you next time.